Welcome to Solo Spotlight. I'm your host, Ryan McDougall, and today we have an extraordinary guest for you. Tim Shady Smith is a seasoned Canadian MMA fighter fighting out of Calgary, Alberta with a professional record of 18 wins, 14 losses. Beyond the cage, Tim has faced and overcome significant personal challenges, including addiction and homelessness. His journey from adversity to achievement is truly inspiring. Tim is set to return to the ring on April 12th at Unified MMA 61 in Edmonton, where he'll face Pat Carroll in a highly anticipated welterweight bout. This fight marks a significant milestone in his career as he continues to demonstrate his fighting spirit and dedication to the sport. In our conversation, Tim opens up about his personal battles, the lessons he's learned, and how he's channeling his experience into mentorship and advocacy. We also discuss his upcoming fight and what it means to him at this stage in his career. In this candid and powerful discussion that sheds a light on the man behind the fighter. Let's get into it.
For 36 it feels so old, the summer wasting, doing everything we're told. This world is heavy, under all of their control. If you want to know.
All right, welcome to the show, Tim. How you doing?
Doing well, brother.
Good. I was just looking at the Unified 61. We're 4 days away now? 4 days, 13 hours, and 35 seconds.
Let's go.
Let's go. How you feeling?
Feeling good, man. Weight's on point. Just doing the final stages of my camp, getting ready. Doing a lot of mental preparation and visualization and just focusing in, locking in.
So what does your week leading up to fight look like?
Fight week, I'm water loading, doing 7.5 liters of water a day up until Wednesday. My diet changes. I got a fight week meal plan that I follow to help me cut the last few pounds. And just focusing on staying sharp and dialing in on the game plan with my coach, Jake Peacock and Randy Chung, and just finalizing what we've been working on and getting ready. Just do my last strength and conditioning session will be today from Kenny Dussault Strength and Conditioning, and that'll be it for the hard work. And then just like some pads and some flowing and game planning and moving around and sweating and staying sharp and healthy.
Right. And I'm so interested because I find it's such an emotional buildup, but you doing it so many times, you probably established some sort of routine with it. Whereas do you think the emotions are kind of worn? How kind of anxious do you get anymore for an event?
They come, they always come, but over the years I know how to shut them down.
Right.
I know how to get myself into that place through meditation, visualization, and during the last few days, it can creep up to you and really mess with you mentally. You can get inside your head, start thinking about the other opponent, what they're going to do, and their strengths, and kind of brings down your confidence. But I've dealt with that in the past, and had my mental game thrown off. But over the years, I've got strategies, and I've worked with mental performance coaches in the past, and I can dial that in pretty quick. With something crops up, I can shut it down right away and stay focused and confident.
And what do you kind of know about Pat Carroll and these guys at Tower One? They have, I think, 3 of their fighters fighting in this card. Do you have anybody else from your gym that's fighting in this event?
Just me on this card. And I think Tower One has 4 guys now. One of their guys stepped up for a guy that pulled out. He's going to be in the main event.
Abdul Aziz, yeah. I think. Yeah.
So Tower One, solid gym. Gavin Tucker, UFC fighter. Yeah. Good group of guys there. They put in hard work. They got a good reputation, and they're building strong fighters, and they're doing some good things.
And do you think living? Because I'm from Nova Scotia, but you can see that there's clearly an advantage by living in the mainland area. Do you think you've been able to get access to more promotions and fights than say in Nova Scotia where it's been emerging?
Yeah, they got a few organizations popping up over there, but once you're a fighter and you start establishing yourself, promotions are willing to fly you out to their promotions, kind of like what's happening with Pat and Unified here. He's made a name for himself out there. He's fought in FLA main events, and it's time for him to step up to a bigger stage.
Right. And yeah, like super exciting, and fighting down in like Fan Park. I think this is like a new, like the Fan Park area. I think it's been under construction for like a few times, but like that looks like a cool place as well. Probably a lot of people going to be going.
Yeah, Unified's been trying to get this set up for a few years now. It's finally happening. It's right in the core downtown Edmonton. It's going to be a massive event. I think it's like 4,000 people, so it's almost double what their shows usually are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Super cool venue. Sponsored by the Oilers, right at Rexall Place. It's massive.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Edmonton,
yeah. And it must be exciting. Like all the work, like it comes down. You're finally doing the walkout. What I'm interested to know. I watched a couple other interviews, and I think you've already explained it. But what's the nickname Shady? Explain that to myself. Explain that to the audience. Why did you choose that for a nickname?
So, in the fight game, like fighters shouldn't nickname themselves. Some do, but it comes from Thailand, from Muay Thai. When you put in work and had some fights, you get a respect from your coach, and you get a nickname from your coach. And I was named Shady from Crew Steve Bergeron. We were training out of National Kickboxing at the time in Edmonton. And he said, when I first walked in the gym, I kind of had a shady look to me. And I was kind of living a different lifestyle back then, and I was a bit shady, but he said I had a shady look to me. He didn't name me Shady right away. I had to put in some work, get a few fights under my belt, but he said it kind of shifted from me looking shady to like my fight style. I pulled off a lot of tricks like look low, kick high, or kind of pretend I was blowing it out and fading, and the guy was going to get the finish, and then, flip him over, get a submission. Just different tactics to my game. And it kind of stuck, like, first few fights, like, in this corner, Tim Smith didn't, like, really have a ring to it, and then
exactly. You're like, I got to get something.
I remember the first time they announced it, Tim Shady Smith. It was like, it had a good ring to it. Crew Steve Bergeron, he named all his fighters. He's so good at naming fighters and training fighters. A lot of respect for that, man.
Yeah, I was watching one of the I think it was your last fight. I was watching the announcer. He gets like right in the people's face and gets you pumped up. I was like,
Don
that's
Andrews.
cool.
Don Andrews, he's the man.
Yeah, I was like, that's freaking cool.
Yeah.
So in terms of the overall fight camp, like how much, have you got a lot of preparation? Has this been announced for a while?
So I got injured in my last fight in March. So it'll be just over a year ago. So after that fight, I focused on healing from that injury, and I put a lot of work into my strength and conditioning. So I've been doing strength and conditioning 2 to 3 times a week all the way for this full year. So I've put on some muscle. That's why I'm fighting at a heavier weight class this fight. And do
you think this is going to affect your gas tank?
No. Kenny Dussault is one of the top strength and conditioning coaches in the world right now. He works with fighters all over the world. I would put on like a huge amount of muscle.
No, is that something that people consider though? Like moving, like going up in like weight?
If you do it improperly, yeah. If you're like training like a bodybuilder, but I train like an athlete, not a bodybuilder.
Exactly. Like and you probably have. I'm sure you have the right strategy. I always just kind of interested. Like, is there any like, like some people they go into it and they're like, oh, like I'm stepping up, but I might like, yeah. So yeah, explain to me the the preparations in fight camp without getting into too much detail. But like, what are your like main focuses?
So basically, you hear of a fight card coming up. I heard this one was coming up, so I put my name in the hat. And at that time, you start turning up your training. So I'm training year round, but I don't have a fight coming up. I'm just doing maintenance training, just staying sharp and healthy. But once your name's in the hat, you start picking up the training a bit, and they start offering you some names. You sign the contract, then you're in fight camp. And the training goes up, and I'm doing everything, strength and conditioning, following my diet, sparring, I'm doing kickboxing, I'm doing wrestling, I'm doing jiu-jitsu, I'm doing MMA, putting it all together, working with all my coaches and teammates, and towards like the last 3-4 weeks, really start game planning and getting an idea of what we're going to do in this fight and what we're going to bring that's going to be different from the last fight. And you got to show up different every time, right?
Right. Yeah. And I'm sure too, like, you kind of like, how much do you train like your own technique for what you're doing? Because like some people, they like, just from what I know as like a fan and consumer, you see some people and they go in and they're like, I'm just going to double leg them. I'm just going to take them down. Like, it's fine. I'm just going to deal with it. And then some people go, no, I'm going to study him. And then I'm going to do counter punching like in Adesanya but then you have like some other guys where it's like, no, they go to like take over. How would you say your like aggression style is?
So basically, I'm not emphasizing too much on what my opponent does or what he's going to do, because you can some guys put a whole 8-week fight camp into what their opponent's going to do, and then last minute their opponent's hurt and they're fighting someone else. So
right, and then what?
I'm focusing on my strength, what I'm going to do, staying well-rounded. I'm working my takedowns, working my takedown defense, working my striking, working everything. But I do study a bit of my opponent's tape and see what his strengths and weaknesses are, and I build a bit of a game plan off that and a strategy off that. It's like, okay, I see where he's heavy on his feet, or I see what he likes to be a pressure fighter, or some guys like to push guys against the cage. And everyone has a bit different element that you can study. Like, I've been doing this for 20 years and studying fights for 20 years. I just need to watch 1 or 2 fights and I got a basic idea of what my game plan is going to be, and I take it to my coaches and we finalize it and we put it together
and then find out what the training looks like.
Yeah.
How, like, so again, you talk about being in the fight game for 20 years. Like, how does that longevity, like, looking at how long it is, how has like the differences in training and the fight game itself, or like getting in events and stuff like that, how has it changed throughout like when you started to now?
So it's 2 different worlds from when I first started. Like, there was barely any amateur wasn't existent back then, so like I had to start off pro right away from my first fight with no prior experience. But the game's changed a lot, and I've been involved with it the whole time. Like, my whole team's all young and hungry, very skilled up and comers. I've been in there with them daily, putting in every round with them as possible, and I've been very blessed in my career. I haven't had any major injuries. I've had a couple injuries, but nothing serious, and no surgeries or nothing like that. And I just take care of my body inside and outside of training, and I feel young, man. I don't feel my age.
And that's good, and especially if you hang around with a good solid like crew of people that are always like keeping people up. It's like you're never really, and like I think you talk about a lot of like visualization and mindset, and I think that's like a huge component of like what people don't consider is that a lot of it is like getting yourself there mentally, and then it comes. You know what I mean? Like you gotta like push through that wall, and I don't think people really like consider. And again, like it can get like crazy where you look at someone like David Goggins. It's like, okay, we don't need you to do like crazy, but it's like just you gotta get over it yourself, right? And like get through that hurdle, and then you're good, right? Your body's extremely capable of a lot of things if you can endure it mentally.
Yeah.
So talk about when you like started off. What were some like things that you look back on now that like starting fighting that like you kind of appreciate throughout time? Like what were some of your like biggest strengths when you were starting off?
My biggest strength's always been like my conditioning and my heart, and that's kind of stayed with me throughout my whole career. Like, the sport's evolved. Like, I used to fight in like nightclubs where they put the cage up on the dance floor with like 300 people in there, and like a 1,000-person show was a big show. And now we're doing like big shows like Unified's exploded. This next show's gonna be like
it's on Fight
people.
Pass.
Yeah, Fight Pass, like big huge
that's
crowds,
crazy.
The big ring, the lights, the big screen, all the effects that go with it. Like that, it wasn't like that back in the day when I started. We were fighting on reserves and bars, and nightclubs, dance floors. Like
you just got like hand wraps.
Yeah. Switching gloves, take your gloves off, give them to the next fighter. He goes in. Now it's like you get your own gloves. You get to keep them.
Yeah.
It's changed.
Yeah, Yeah, that's it is interesting because I think that's like it has become more like accepted over time, and people have been more willing to be like, okay, it's not as like as long as the right rules are there and you're not like putting people in danger or you're not letting like it's like a you don't let a huge like weight discretion or anything like that. Then like as long as it's regulated, everything's fine.
Yeah, it's a fairly safe sport. There's always, the odd time something serious happens, like people get put to sleep pretty hard. I got some pretty bad injuries in my last fight, but that was like the worst I've been injured out of 34 fights. So it doesn't happen
Right.
all the time. It's fairly safe. If you're injured, the ref's there to stop you. And I think hockey and football, and those guys are way more crazy than that.
Oh, for sure. How what's like your thoughts like being like training for so many fight camps? Like, what are your thoughts on sparring now? Have you like slowed down sparring over time?
I think
Like as you got older?
you need to mix it up. Like back in the day, we used to bang hard every session. Now it's like we know when to go and when to pull back. So like if I'm
Ye-
sparring 3 times a week, they're not all three of them are hard sessions. Sometimes they're
Yeah, it's not
technical.
like crazy.
Yeah, sometimes technical flow. Sometimes we're picking it up a bit on the wrestling, mixing it in.
Hmm.
But like Saturday morning sparring at Dynamis is it's pretty famous for like you better come with your hands up.
Right, right. Fair enough. Like there has to you have to kind of know when to turn it up.
We have hard days. Like I got a black eye right now from sparring last Saturday.
Right.
Like we get banged up a bit in sparring, but it's still safe. It's all our teammates. We're looking out for each other, but we know when to push and we know when to pull back.
Right. Right. And like going back to when you were like early on in fighting, was there any like memorable moment that stuck with you that you kind of knew like this was your like trajectory and like you knew you were going to do this for a while?
Yeah, for sure. Like my very first fight, I didn't know what I was getting into. I had no nerves, nothing. I walked in, and then like I remember after the first round, I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy shit."
Yeah. Just
And
adrenaline.
after I started getting, like my feet underneath me and started getting some wins, I got some calls for some big fights. I remember there was a short notice fight that was on Score Fighting Series, nationally televised against Alex Ricci, who was an up and comer, undefeated on his way to the UFC. He was a Muay Thai world champion, trained and lived in Thailand for 7 years. It was a huge fight, and I took it on short notice. No idea how I was going to do. And I went in there, we got fight of the night, banged it out with him for 2 rounds. I ended up losing to a head kick, and then he landed some elbows on me. But it was a tough fight.
Right.
But like I was in there with him. I was in there going with him, and I was just a newer fighter. And I was like, I can do this. I'm gonna keep going with this.
How much have you like traveled as a like throughout your fighting career? Because I see a lot of your fights have taken place in Alberta, but has that just been like a opportunity thing where it's like, well, the like it's good eating here, so why would I go anywhere else?
Yeah. So basically, because of my past, I can't travel to the States.
Okay.
And then I've had some fights. I fought in Vancouver. I fought in Toronto. I fought in Saskatchewan. But if I can fight in Calgary or Edmonton, that's what I'm going to take because of the weight cut process and like fly out to Toronto, get your hotel, then you got to cut weight in the hotel and you're away from home. The closer I can
Yeah.
fight to home, the better. And at my age and the stage of my career, like I'm not making the UFC. They ain't signing someone who's 41.
Right.
So I'm fighting now for the love of the sport and get my friends and family and everyone out under one roof. So if I
Yeah.
can fight in Edmonton or Calgary where everyone can come out, that's what I'm doing. It's a good time for everyone.
And that's a good that's a good logic behind it because it I think it allows you to stay like relatively grounded, so like you're not going in and making mistakes, like you know what I mean, it's calculated, like, and it kind of like translates to kind of everything you're doing, right? It keeps you at like a like it gives you more of like a mental stability where it's like, well, what if I get to the hotel and like they don't have this or this isn't, you know what I mean? It just throws you off.
Yeah,
And
totally.
you're like, why would I, what if there's an option here and there's an option there, why wouldn't I, you know?
Right.
And it's interesting to see how some people think of that as like a weakness or like a negative thing where it's like, nah, it's just smart.
Yeah, it's just where I'm at my stage in my career. Like I can't go to the States, so it's just Canada. I've been to Toronto, I've been to Vancouver. So where else is there to go, right? Lethbridge, Saskatchewan.
Well, and that's great. Like, it's really cool that like this type of sport professionally has gave you the ability to like travel and see the country,
Yeah, totally.
right?
Yeah.
That's super cool. Like that's something like that's a huge takeaway, right? So when you took time away from competition, and then you made a comeback, what drove you to like come back at a high level? Like, what was there any like thought in your head of like, well, I want to do it, but maybe I'll like do it, and because I think once you go pro, you can't go back to amateur, right?
Right.
Right. So it's like if you were going to fight, you would have to continue fighting at this level.
Right.
Okay, and that's what I figured that was the case. It was like if I'm gonna fight at all, I'm not since like you already fought professionally.
Yeah, if you have a certain amount of time off, you come back to where you left off, kind of thing.
Right. So was there any like how long did it take you to like make that decision for a
So what
comeback?
happened with me was I was the Unified MMA 155 champion, and my life kind of derailed, and I went off and I got lost in addiction for a few years. And during that time, when I was like homeless on the streets and addiction, like fighting was always in the back of my mind. Like sometimes I'd wake up in like a panic, and like, what am I doing? I could have made the UFC. Like I was on a run, and there's always something I wanted to get back into. So as soon as I got into treatment and started getting clean, I wanted to fight right away. And as soon as I left treatment, I got an offer to fight, and I trained for 8 weeks and took a fight. Looking back, like I lost that fight. I wasn't in the right place mentally. I was overweight. I was chubby. I wasn't ready for that fight, but I wanted to do it. And looking
Yeah,
back,
you're just so itching.
yeah, I should have gave myself some more time and better prepared and got into it, but I didn't. But yeah, here I am now, and I'm in a good place where I want to be.
And so yeah, so you made this comeback, and like did you from the fighter you were before to the fighter you are now, do you think you have a different mindset or is it the same type of beast?
I think I got a different mindset now over the last 3 years. When I first came back, I was first out of treatment. I was just getting to know myself. I was out of shape. But like over the last 3 years since I've been with Dunamis, Kodakan, Coach Dassault, and Coach TJW, and be like remotivated because I went on a 4-fight losing streak and I retired. And
Right.
I felt like I still got something in me that I can do, but I wasn't doing all the right pieces. I wasn't doing the nutrition, the strength and conditioning. I'm like, I'm gonna put everything into this and see what I got left. And I went and I trained for 8 months, did a solid camp with all these new coaches and implemented all these new things. And I came back and had a fight of the year performance against Curtis Damaris, which was one of the highlights of my career. And I was like, yeah, I'm still here. I still got it. And I've been working like my mental game and just staying focused. So I'm a lot different of a fighter, but the mentality and the aggression is still there for sure.
Right. Right. That's awesome. And even if you like even if the mindset does change, it's like it's kind of just you're tightening it up, right? Like you're finding out where you need to fix things, where you need to adjust, and then kind of like bringing that into like a new version, like you said, this Shady 2.0 version of yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I also want to talk about like your workout side of like fighting, because like you're also taking this, like you're also taking your past and you're taking like everything you've been through and your experiences, and you're using this to like correct me if I'm wrong, like become a mentor or like an advocate for youth, and like finding better ways to like deal with trauma or deal with like circumstances, right? So the first one I want to talk about is gloves not guns. Can you just kind of give me a brief, like I followed their channel, like their socials and everything, but I haven't really got the chance to actually like talk to. I messaged one of them. Hopefully I can get an opportunity to chat with them, but I kind of want to get an idea from you of like what that organization is like.
So Gloves Not Guns, they reached out to me, and I've worked with them once. I went to the Calgary Youth Jail and talked to the youth and did some training with them. TJ, the guy who runs it, is working with youth. They do like it's an absolutely beautiful movement they got going on. They work with the youth at the CYOC. They go to the Edmonton Youth Jail, speak with them, train them. They got a program that runs out of Olympus Boxing here in Calgary, where they're in there every Sunday. They bring in a speaker, and they're working with troubled teens that are criminally involved with the criminal system. And like they're getting these kids fights and taking them out of the streets and getting like showing them a positive outlook on life. And they do a bunch more stuff. I don't know everything that they're doing, but I know that it's beautiful work they're doing, and I will be working with them again in the future.
Yeah, anytime you like, that's, you think about it, like any time that you can create something that's going to like direct people out of the like, just you look at how much time people have, and it's like, even as an adult, if you give yourself too much time, you fuck around, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where I think even the more mature I get, when you see that happen in youth, you can kind of be like, oh, like it is upsetting or whatever it is, but it's like anybody with that amount of time and non-supervision or whatever the circumstances are, it's going to have, anybody's going to slip through the cracks.
Yeah,
right?
well, as humans, we're built for connection, right? And some of these troubled youth, the way they grow up, they're not getting the proper connection with their family and their parents and stuff like that. So they're going to get that connection, whatever comes to them. So they're getting involved with these gangs. Anywhere where they're feeling that acceptance, they're feeling that involvement. So if we can pull them away from that and get them into positive connection with people doing positive things, like I'm all for it. And anytime anybody asks me to do anything that involves working with youth, I'm in 100%.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what other like, I know you do seminars at your gym. What other type of like events do you try to do to keep yourself like engaged with the community, or like have this like type of advocacy?
So basically, like, I'll teach classes at my gym sometimes on Saturdays. I'm not involved in a whole bunch of coaching at my gym, but I went and did a seminar in Edmonton recently. The gym owner reached out to me and asked me to come up and teach a seminar. And that was the first seminar I've taught. I've been to lots of seminars, but it's the first seminar that I went and taught. And
Right.
I'm open to do it again if someone reaches out to me and wants me to come teach a seminar at their gym. I'm in for it, but I'm not out looking for it. But if it comes, I'm there.
Right. Some people are some people are against it. It's not like you're anything. You're just kind of like, hey, if it's there, I'll do it. If it's not, then it is what it is. Like, keep it pushing.
I'm open. If someone reaches out to me and wants me there, I'm there.
And in terms of like balancing this between like your home life and your life, like how do you, like, what do you put in place to make sure that, like, again, because I think as like a fighter, that becomes like a lifestyle. It doesn't become like a job where it's like, okay, I clock out, I turn off the phone, blah, 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 blah. But like, how do you make sure that like you have a good balance between like what you're doing as a fighter and like what you're doing as like an adult, parent, father, boyfriend, how do you do?
Totally. It's kind of just laid out for me over the years. It's just become like my routine and my lifestyle, like you said. Wake up, go train, come home, get my kid to school, go work 8 hours, go train again, come home. I make time to spend time with my kid. I make time to spend time with my friends. I make time for my recovery, my work, my training. I make time to see my girl. I make time to, and I just make the time. You figure it out as you go.
Yeah, and it's like the old saying where it's like, if you want to do it, you'll make it work.
Yeah, when people say they don't have time, it's like, no, you have time.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's like, if you had the time, you do it. Like,
plus I'm cooking all my own meals. Like, I wake up, I make my lunch and my dinner for the day as I'm making my breakfast and my coffee.
Do you go to like a dietitian or anything to get that planned, or are you doing
Coach TJW, sports nutritionist. He gives me all my meal plans, my weight cuts, my rehydration, everything.
Right.
One of the best nutritionists in the world. Yeah.
Right. And did you find them, or did they find you?
I met him at one of the fight shows before, and he messaged me before, but I approached him at the fights, and we talked and stuff and
set it up.
Yeah.
And in terms of like being a dad, raising a son, does that kind of give you like this extra like motivation when you're fighting?
Yeah, when he was firstborn, I remember I was at a title defense, and he was like not even 1 year old, and he had his little Shady '69 little shirt they made up for him. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna win this fight for my boy, you know. And I went in, won that
Yeah.
fight. But now it's more of I just want to be a positive role model for him and all kids, and like for me, mixed martial arts is what I'm doing. If he wants to do that, cool. If he doesn't, that's fine too. But I just want to show him about like the work ethic, the the consistency, the dedication. He sees what I'm doing, right? Sees me going training, sees how I'm eating, and if he can pick off, because they say they learn from what you do, not what you say, right?
Yeah. And he can see a positive representation from like some sort of mutual combat that's not in a bad light. He's
Right.
not seeing people have like street fights and banging each other out in the hallways and stuff like that. It's like he's seeing it in like a safe, regulated way, which gives him like a good understanding of like, oh, well, this is the safe way to do it. This isn't good,
Right.
right? It
Totally.
also has that benefit, and it gives them the idea of like, I think a lot of people, and not to say it's a good thing or bad thing, but I think it comes with its benefits of like some people, what happens is they've never been around chaos. So then when it happens, their brain's just firing on all cylinders,
Yeah.
and they can't control the stimulation of like all these people yelling and bumping into them and talking and grabbing you, and they
Right.
just melt, right? So I think the idea of like that type of like organized chaos is like actually very beneficial for anybody, because it gives you the idea of like, well, you got to kind of at some point you got to figure it out, because like this could happen at any time.
Yeah. And like
Like,
he knows how to fight it. Like I've been fighting the whole time he's been alive. He knows how to hit pads. He knows how to do takedowns. He knows rear naked chokes, arm bars. Like he knows how to wrestle.
Right.
He can take care of himself. Yeah.
right, and that's good. Um, how how long do you think you're going to be fighting for? Like, considering your age and where you're at, like how many fights do you think you have left in you? Is this train still rolling strong? Do you have kind of like a landmark in your head of like, okay, I'll do this many fights? Or
So there's no set timeline. I know after my last fight, when I took those injuries, my family didn't really want me to continue fighting, and a few of my friends were concerned and stuff. As soon as I healed up, they're like, "When are you fighting again next?" Right?
yeah,
So
right,
I'm always focused on one fight at a time, and not looking past this fight. And I'll just see what happens after this fight. I know I'm getting up there in age. I don't feel like I'm 41. I feel like I'm in my prime and I could go on for a few more years, but it's a matter of which direction my life's going to go, how much more like damage do I want to take on my brain. It all depends on how the fight goes.
right. And even when you decide to, you look like you have a very like accomplished record. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? It's not like you came in, had a fight, dipped out. Like 18-14, champion for multiple organizations. Like, and it looks too that like you're like the ground game is where you've kind of succeeded. Where do you attribute that to?
Um, I think
'Cause I
a lot
see.
of
Sorry, continue.
I think I'm well rounded, and like a lot of those submissions, like you wear a guy down, he gets tired, he's going to give you the submission, and that's how a lot of those fights went about. And some of my fights aren't actually record because back in 2006 they weren't tracking all the fights like they do now. So I actually
Okay.
got 19 wins. So one of my goals is to get my 20th professional win. So if I win this fight, I got 20 wins, and I'll be
Right.
happy with that. If I don't win this fight, I still got 19 wins. I want 20 wins before I
Exactly. Yeah. And that's fair. And it's definitely something that, like, given the training, given the mindset, like, you seem like you've prepared yourself to give you the best opportunity for success.
Yeah, I'm ready for this fight. I've been training. I've had a wicked camp. I'm in phenomenal shape, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Everything's intertwined together as one. So I want to step in there and get into that free flow state right away and put on the show.
So, what, like, again, coming off of like like a losing streak, like what things have you kind of like done or like went through in order to kind of like get yourself out of that mindset or like change your approach to keep wanting to like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know how the fight game goes. One guy wins, one guy loses, right? And my last fight, I was winning the fight up until I took some shots on my eye. I don't know if it was a thumb or a finger or a knuckle, but something put my eye into the back of my head, and I had a hemorrhage behind my eye, internal bleeding. My eye was swollen shut, like the fight was over from that. But up
Right.
until that, I was winning the fight. So I'm not going to say he got a lucky shot, but his punch landed in a lucky spot. I would have ate that punch, no problem, whether it landed somewhere else. So I'm not going off of like, oh, I'm coming off a loss. Every fight's different. Every time you step in there, it's a different game. And yeah, like my mentality is one fight at a time. I'm not thinking about my last fight. I'm not thinking about the next fight. Thinking about stepping in, putting on the best performance I can, coming in the best shape I can. And that's all I need to worry about. Win, lose, or draw. I'm not focused on the outcome. I'm focused on my performance and what I'm going to do. And that's bring the heat.
Yeah. And with your, like, given any extra time you have, what do you kind of like do when you like on your free time? What is like, what do you do for like leisure activities?
I like to ride my Harley Davidson into the mountains. I like to hang out with my friends. I like to hang out with my girl. I like to hang out with my son. I like to chill. If I'm not in fight camp, I don't have a fight lined up. I like to eat.
Yeah.
You know, I like to go out with good people, get some good connection, have some good food with my buddies, and yeah, just living life, man.
Yeah. So, given your multiple titles, fan favorite fights, inspiring personal journey, like, what do you hope your legacy in MMA when you eventually step away is going to be?
So, I'm not really focused on a legacy. I didn't think it was going to go this far. This is just something I love to do and I enjoy doing. And I remember what got me into this sport was like, wasn't so much the fighting. Like, I'd rather have an exciting fight than lose than take a guy down and hold him for 3 rounds and get the win. If that makes sense. So what got me hooked on this fighting is like the Robbie Lawlers, the guys that were going in there and just like letting it go. That's what amps me up. When I see a fighter go in there and he's letting it go and he's getting after it, I'm like, let's go, you know?
Let's go, yeah.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about for me. So if I have any type of legacy that's left behind, it's that, you know, Tim Shady would fight anybody, anytime, and anytime he stepped in that cage, he'd let it go, man. All in.
And if you could give one piece of advice to someone that's starting out, what would it be?
Just one piece? Just never give up and believe in yourself.
Yeah.
This is something that you want, and keep going, go all in, you know, invest in yourself, get that nutritionist, get that professional strength and conditioning coach, trust your coaches, and believe in yourself. For the longest time, I wanted to hear that people believed in me in my younger years. I wanted to hear like, I believe in you, you got this. And I learned over time, it doesn't matter what other people think. If this guy thinks I'm going to lose, if that guy thinks I'm going to win, don't matter. It's what I think. Do I believe in myself? Yeah, I believe in myself. And that's all you need, self-belief. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, where can people follow you online? How can they support you heading in to Unified MMA 61?
Just tune in on Fight Pass, you know. Let me hear you from your couch. If you're coming out to the Ice District Live, let's hear you chant. I'm Shady Time MMA on Instagram and just Tim Shady on Facebook. Give me a hit or a like or a follow and say what's up.
Of course. We are definitely wishing you the best of luck. We're excited to see the event. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me today. I really appreciate it. And hopefully my next time in Calgary or your next time in Edmonton, we can sit down in person and chop it up.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me out. Saturday night, Shady Time, motherfuckers.
Saturday night, Shady Time. Thank you very much.
All right, brother.